Hello, welcome to another video. Today I wanted to talk about the magic of evergreens and some fun winter things you can do with them. I do have a disclaimer, there's an exceptional amount of construction going on in my building right now. I've been putting off filming this video for 2 days, but I can't put it off any longer. And they aren't stopping anytime soon, so I do apologize for the noise in the background. I will do my best to try to film around it, but it is a little challenging. So just to let that be known, I am sorry, but I don't have a lot of control over it. But nevertheless, today we will be discussing evergreens, and as it is very wintry here where I live, it just feels like the perfect season. So today I have some western hemlock and cedar. I do usually prefer to work with pine, juniper, and cedar as my typical evergreen plants, but western hemlock is pretty prevalent out here and was the only tree that I could find in the area I was looking outside of the cedar. So I will be using it as my other evergreen. But today the topics and magical components we'll be talking about are pretty much the same across all evergreens, with very few exceptions due to how evergreens grow and their symbolism throughout cultures. These ties are pretty much the same across the board. Of course, each individual evergreen is going to have its own ties and connections that are unique from the others, but today we'll be talking about the 4 that pretty much bridge the gap between all of them, along with 6 of my favorite ways to engage with these properties. So all in all, I'm very excited to get started. But before we do, this video is sponsored, so let's hear a little bit more about that. As we near closer to the holiday season, I've been reminded of the increase in waste that tends to accumulate this time of year. So in an effort to limit my impact on the environment, I'm so glad to have found Blueland. Blueland uses no single-use plastic in any component, not their bottles, tablets, wrappers, or even what they use in their shipping. And all of their refills are 100% plastic-free. The packaging of the refills is even compostable and recyclable. Their products are effective, convenient, affordable, and sourced from clean ingredients. And they are also EPA Safer Choice certified, which means EPA scientists have evaluated each and every ingredient in the product to make sure it meets Safer Choice's stringent criteria. With Blueland, cleaning your house or hands can be done with only this nickel-sized tablet. And unlike traditional soaps and cleaners that are usually $5 to $6 per bottle, that you eventually throw out anyways, Blueland's refill tablets start at $2.25, and when you buy the bottle, you use it forever. Not to mention, you can save 10% with their convenient subscription that you can reschedule or cancel at any time. In my package, I got multi-surface cleaners, bathroom cleaners, glass and mirror cleaners, and even a ton of different foaming hand soaps. I've loved using the multi-surface cleaner for all of my day-to-day messes, of which I make many, and the hand soaps smell divine. I'm particularly fond of the Evergreen scent. It's been a ton of fun to change up my cleaning routine, and having so many different scents to choose from for my hand soaps has made making the switch even more exciting. So if this sounds interesting to you, just click my link below to get 15% off your first kit. You don't want to miss out on this great offer. Thank you so much to Blueland for sponsoring this video, and let's get back into it. Alrighty, welcome back. So as I noted earlier, today we will be discussing the 4 magical ties that are pretty much the same across all evergreen species. And these are purification, prosperity, protection, and healing. And of course, there are exceptions to the rule. Not every single evergreen species ties to all 4 of these, and all of them have ones in addition to these ties that are unique. But for the most part, they do tie to these. And as it is the winter months, and evergreens are some of the few still alive plants around us if you're in a colder climate, they are at a great deal of power at this time of year as far as plants go, and so I would highly recommend choosing to work with them this time of year for these purposes. So first and foremost, let's work with cedar to delve into these properties and one method of working with them. So cedar here ties to all of these properties and is among my favorite purifying herbs and protective herbs. It is my preferred go-to to cleanse a space, usually in the form of a burning herb bundle, which is what we will first be making. But outside of purification, a burning herb bundle can also be used for protection, prosperity, and even healing. So to make one, all you'll need is a bundle of fresh cedar, a bit of natural fiber twine that is safe to burn, and it's good to have some scissors on hand. Let's get started. The first step to creating a cedar bundle is to, well, create a loose bundle. My branches were pretty long, so I cut them in half and doubled them up over each other, and now I have a really decent sized bundle. The bundles will shrink as they dry. These are some of my older ones, and often they start kind of in a similar size. So keep that in mind while you're bundling. But if you make them too thick, they will take a really long time to dry, and you may risk them molding or rotting. So it can be a bit of a delicate practice to some extent, but for the most part, making a bundle, if you keep it in a dry, clean space, you'll be good. So once you have your bundle, it's time to wrap it with cord. Make sure to do it very tightly. And here it is all the way tied together. There are many different ways to tie the bundles together. Personally, lately, I've been enjoying doing a doubled up piece of twine, double knotting it after each loop all the way around, and then closing it off with a double knot at the top. I found this helps it to stay together longer, making sure there's knots at each area so that when you burn through these different knots, they don't become this mess that's falling apart, which is what has always happened with the way that I used to bundle my cedar. So I do recommend at least adding a couple more knots into however you do it, if you don't already. Now what we need to do is cut off this beautiful top portion and trim up all of these extra little bits because they will become a fire hazard once they're dried. Alrighty, and there you go. That's how you make a cedar bundle. Now this does need to sit and dry for some time before it's ready for use. It will turn completely dry like these guys, though these ones are quite old and have lost a great deal of their color. It will still probably maintain some of its green and won't be bleached by the sun in the same way these ones have. But the way to use it, simply light the end and take it around, put the smoke wherever you wish to either purify, protect, bring prosperity to, or healing energies to. Herb bundles can be made out of many different evergreen species. Make sure that they are safe to burn. There are species that would be poisonous and you just want to be a bit careful, but cedar, pine, and juniper are my favorites to make into herb bundles, and they smell incredible. My home smells wonderful just putting this together, and burning them is so happy and wonderful. Now, of course, if you're someone who can't burn herbs for whatever reason, maybe pets, the house you're living in, your own respiratory health. You can also make an infusion of these herbs and spray them around your house for similar effects. But if you do end up making a herb bundle, which you can also make them for decorative purposes as well, you'll end up with a lot of scraps. Which leads me to another favored way to work with evergreens, and it is best done with scraps or little bits of the plant material. And it is to take these extra little leaves, sprinkle them on the floor, and sweep them up as a way to cleanse the energy of the space. They collect all of that negative, stagnant energy, and this is a really effective way to both physically clean a space and also energetically purify it. So a great way to make use of these extra little bits. Next up, I do want to show you how to make an infusion of these, which is what you would do if you'd prefer to make a spray of these herbs instead of a burning bundle. Or you can also use it as a wash on an area to bring all of these properties that we previously talked about. And if you've been here for a while, you'll know I'm a big fan of herbal infusions. So let's get started. And this is another wonderful way to use these scraps. So instead of getting rid of all of these beautiful cedar scraps, I am instead going to put them into this bowl, add some boiling water, and make an infusion to wash down over my thresholds or anywhere that I want to add purifying, protective, prosperous, or healing energies to. Now just to let this cool down a bit before washing down the thresholds. While this cools off, I'll talk a little bit more about how to use this. It can be put just about anywhere. Personally, I'm a big fan of washing down the thresholds of my home with infusions. I find that it works beautifully as either a protective barrier or something that works more to welcome specific energies that I'm hoping for. So while I could work with this as a protective barrier, I can also add it to the thresholds to welcome in prosperity or good health. Similarly, it can be used to cleanse the space and get rid of energy that may be stuck. But it doesn't have to only be placed around thresholds. You can use it to clean areas magically. You can sprinkle it atop places that you want to bring these specific energies to. You can even use it as a rinse on yourself. Another practice in this vein that I enjoy is adding these herbs to a bath, either in a cloth tea bag to keep it all contained or sprinkling them directly in. This is a great way to add some energetic purifying and cleansing to an already physical cleanse. And you can also work it in for the healing purposes, the prosperity bringing purposes, and the protection ones. Really just about anything. So that is another wonderful way to work with this kind of plant, evergreens. And now that this is cooling down enough, I'm going to put it around the windows and thresholds of my home. And then after that, it's time to begin work on the next practice. Now, after we've finished washing down the thresholds with the infusion, it's time to move on to our last couple of workings with evergreens. Now, these last couple of practices that I'm going to share kind of go hand in hand. So it's the same practice essentially, but I have two preferred main uses for it, so we're gonna call it two different things even though the preparation for it is the same. And that is to make an herb bundle to hang either over the threshold for protection, prosperity, of course it could also be healing, or to hang it above the bed, and this is my preferred separate way to work with it, to hang it over the bed for bringing healing energies. Personally, I'm a big fan of keeping evergreens hung above the bed during the winter months to increase just general healing energies. I don't know about you, but I usually battle a couple of colds in this time of the year, and while magic isn't going to cure you, it can help to have a little bit of added healing energy and vibes around you. Honestly, I think of it more as something enjoyable to do. It ties strongly to folklore across the board, and while I don't think it is the answer to remedying an illness, it can't hurt. So now we will be making an herb bundle to hang. Make sure to tie it off very tightly as the herbs will dry and get smaller, but it's pretty simple. Just needs that one tie there with the ability to hang it, and there you have it. Hang it above the threshold or above the bed depending on the purpose that you want to have it, and you can make as many of these as you'd like. Personally, when it comes to healing, I am more of a fan of pine, but most evergreens will do. And there we have it, the 6 practices that I am most fond of when it comes to working with evergreens in the winter. They're very simple and achievable and accessible across the board with evergreens. Not to mention they are a beautiful way to connect to the season. Now, it is important to keep in mind when working through all of these practices that you have a strong foundation of intent. I have a whole video deep diving into intent, all the different ways to work it and connect to it. If you're interested, I will link that down below. But these spells and practices will only work with that kind of connection. You need to communicate to them the energy that you are hoping for them to work. But again, I have that video and it will be linked down below if you are interested or need a bit of a refresher. And with that, thank you so much for watching. I'm sorry about the construction noise. I'm hoping it's not too bad in post, but things like this happen, and honestly getting to work through all of these projects has taken my mind away from it quite a bit. So anyways, time to close out the video. As you probably know, I wrote a book and it was published at the end of October. Sales have been incredible. You guys have been so lovely. I read all of your reviews and all of your comments, and it has meant the world to me. I don't even know how to begin to express my gratitude. If you haven't heard about my book before, it is all about spell work, and it is a very deep guide to connecting to it and working with it. It is a beginner's guide, but by the end you most certainly won't be a beginner. And because of this, it should be useful to those of you who aren't beginners either. Besides, there's a lot of resources and it is meant to be kept as a reference book. So a lot of uses and also just exciting. Beyond this, I also have a Patreon. There I share art, herbal profiles, book recommendations, and monthly workshops. It's really what keeps things running over here, so I cannot thank those of you who are over there enough. I know it's not for everyone, but if you can, it really does help keep this channel running. I also have another channel there. I share more vlogs, day-to-day life, magic, herbalism, all of those good things. So if you want more content from me, you can find all of these things down below. With that, thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a lovely day, and I can't wait to see you again soon. All right, bye.